She had half a term under her belt. The school was still officially outstanding, and the empire ruled over for 25 years by the formidable Mrs. Pearson had not fallen. In fact, word had reached Jo that there were murmurs about her having made things even better. There was now more music, more outdoor learning, more pastoral care. Things were good, she acknowledged, slinging her bag over her shoulder, then locking her office and heading down the corridor to the staff room for the PTA meeting. She did wish they hadn't chosen this, the last day of the autumn half-term, as a time to meet. But the treasurer apparently couldn't make it on any other day, and nothing was allowed to happen without the treasurer present. They were a force at this school, the PTA. They saw themselves as an integral cog in the managerial wheel. Jo had never known this in any of her previous schools. There either hadn't been a PTA at all, or the one they had was so small she'd only really spoken to them once a year, when they told her they'd raised £300 at the summer fete. £1 for each child. Jo had seen the accounts and knew that at West Burntridge, last year's summer fete alone had brought in over £6,000. She realised quickly that these fundraising mothers were not to be offended. The trouble was, they were all really bloody annoying. In every meeting they talked in painstaking detail about their fundraising ideas for the month ahead. The usual weekly cake stall, a craft fair, an art competition, perhaps a Christmas ball, so their husbands could finally all meet each other. Sometimes Jo found these plans so dull she had to control the urge to suggest something radical and shake them all up a bit. It wouldn't take much. As a group, they were devastatingly shockable. "Drugs," she wanted to say. "A sponsored experiment to see if any of you become more interesting coked off your tits." Instead, she nodded and thanked them all for their hard work, raising the valuable funds the school couldn't manage without. Then she'd move to leave, and that was when the trouble would start. "Miss Fairburn, could I just have a quick word?" That was it, the line they always opened with. Everyone knew it was never going to be a quick word. It was going to be a lengthy 40,000 words, possibly stretched over several meetings for the next 6 months. But still, a quick word was what they called it, in recognition of the fact that they understood Jo was a busy woman and didn't want to take up her time. It was just this one thing they were worried about, and they needed their minds putting at rest. There were 3 women today wanting a quick word, although 2 of them came together as a package of joint concern. "We just wanted to talk to you about the changes you're making to Toy Day this term," one of them said. Kate Munro, the all-powerful treasurer. Toy Day was a cherished ritual at West Burntridge, a legacy Jo had inherited from Mrs. Pearson, but which she herself would rather do without. On the last day of every half-term, children were allowed to bring a toy from home to play with during that final golden hour before freedom. Jo had decided not to do away with it entirely, on the grounds that it was a small issue, and she didn't want to upset everyone so early on. But she had made it clear there were to be no electronic devices. This, no doubt, would be Kate Munro's point of irritation. Her daughter was in Year 1 and obsessed with screens and everything in them. Already she had her own deeply obnoxious YouTube channel, in which she starred alongside her mother, the 2 of them dressed in sparkles and tiaras, performing god-awful karaoke. The Munro Girls. It made Jo want to vomit. She had little patience for a woman in her 40s calling herself girl, and even less for anyone who encouraged their child to dress and behave as a sex symbol. Jo smiled professionally. "OK, I'm all ears." "Well, we don't think it's completely fair that those children like my daughter Kendra, who love making videos with their friends, are no longer allowed to bring iPads." iPads aren't sensible things to have in school.